Welcome back to the news show. I'm your host, Sony, and this week things are going to be a little more interesting. So to jump right into it, I'd like to start off by saying EA is reintroducing microtransactions into their game, Star Wars Battlefront 2. Now, towards the end of 2017, EA faced a lot of backlash for predatory microtransactions within the game Star Wars Battlefront 2. They lost a whole load of money in the lack of sales. They also lost a whole load of money in stocks, and even Disney themselves, a holder of the IP Star Wars, simply said, EA, we don't like what you're doing, stop it. And it was just a complete train wreck. So you're probably asking yourself, why are they trying to reintroduce microtransactions back into the video game that they already tried but also failed with? Well, the game didn't meet sales numbers as expected. Or at least as they expected. It actually made a fraction of what Call of Duty World War II made, and honestly, just not enough money came from that game for EA to fully recover from it. So they want to make the numbers back somehow, and microtransactions seem to be the only way they can do it right now. CEO Andrew Wilson says, "We never intended to build an experience that could be seen as unfair or lacking clear progression, so we removed the feature that was taking away from what fans were telling us an otherwise great game." Now, I'm not big into shooters, especially now, because a lot of them are just bland and samey, but to say that Star Wars Battlefront 2 is a bad game would be overly critical and way too harsh. It isn't a bad game, it's just not a great game. The lack of progression, the lack of any real incentive to play beyond, hey look, it's Star Wars, is really hard for the game to actually break out of right now, especially if they're just gonna slam microtransactions back into the game. I hope with this edition they do actually add a progression system. They also remove the whole essentially pay to win aspect of it and make it purely cosmetic. And all in all, just try to make sure that the game feels like a game again, not just a way for them to grab at money. Moving on to Epic Games shutting out Paragon for no real reason why. Paragon is a third-person MOBA game that is kind of a different take on Smite. If you don't know what Smite is, it's another third-person MOBA game which was supposed to be a console-exclusive MOBA experience because MOBAs are very complex in design and can't really be replicated on a controller, or so we thought until Smite came along. So why is Paragon shutting down? Well, no one truly knows the reason why. They've simply given out a message saying that they are truly sorry for not delivering on what they may have promised or what they said that they wanted to do with the game. They didn't see a clear destination for where they really wanted to take this game, and all in all, they're just kind of sorry that this entire thing ended up the way that it did. And I can't say that this game is bad because it's not. It's a very good game. Although I'm not into MOBAs anymore, it's not a bad MOBA at all. It's very good, it's very clean, it's very balanced. Maybe the core community says something different. Maybe some other people have just genuinely different ideas or thoughts about the game, but I don't see a reason for it to shut down. But they are thankful for the community and they're grateful for all the things that everybody has put into the game. And to show the respect to the community, if you've bought any form of microtransactions in the game, you are able to refund them fully with a link all through your Epic Games account. A link to the original article down below, it explains everything there and gives you the relevant links. I just quickly want to touch on what they said in the statement, the part where it gets to they didn't have enough players to be sustainable or help the game grow. And I think this is very important, especially if that more and more MOBAs are coming out. Like, I think it's Gigantic, yeah, that's another MOBA that came out, and the studio behind that game sadly was either moved or shut down, I don't recall entirely, but games like that, even Lawbreakers, who's struggling right now, games like that seem to struggle because either titans like Dota 2 or League of Legends, they just cannot compete, or people aren't looking at them enough, or people are just disregarding them as, it's essentially League, why would I play that if I can just play League of Legends? If that is the case, then I strongly disagree with you entirely. I think every single game should have a chance to be looked at and have the chance for some attention, no matter what that game is, if it's original or unoriginal. Even Battle Ball struggled, even though it very much was just a shooter MOBA, but people and even the publishers kept calling it just a shooter, nothing more, nothing less. It was never meant to compete with Overwatch, nor should it have even tried, but that's simply how it was handled, and I feel like this is exactly what's happening in more and more games these days. Either publishers are handling them poorly, not giving them the funding they need for marketing, not treating them what they actually are and trying to brand them as something else, or maybe just people aren't looking enough into what is gaming anymore. Our final story is incredibly short because there's not really much to say on this one. Well, there is. There's just not really that came from it. The looter shooter Destiny carbon copy known as Anthem. I know that's being incredibly hyperbolic, but please, I'll explain myself in a minute. Has a delayed release from the late 2018 to the early 2019. And if any of you are surprised, don't be. If you looked at the E3 gameplay footage or the scripted gameplay footage, you'll know that it looked very unfinished, it was very limited, and if they want to seriously compete with something like Destiny or even The Division, which is on the rise right now, they have to really try to do something different, and giving themselves a late 2018 release date really isn't gonna cut it. I get this game has been in the works for a while now, but even then, you still need to do something very different than what everybody else is doing within the genre. Now, I've already spoken with a few people, and they've told me that, well, they're kind of annoyed, and they don't like the fact that it's been delayed, but I think it's necessary. They clearly need some time to work, or more time to work on the game, clear out some bugs, some bumps and itches here and there. Maybe even optimize the game or make it optimizable enough for the Xbox One X, the PlayStation 4S, or Plus, I don't remember what the PlayStation 1 was called, I'm sorry. Or just a low-end PC can run. Too many games these days focus on high graphical fidelity and completely forget that you need to be able to play these games on consoles, on just bad PCs, just make the game playable. Biggest example of this is PUBG. Please optimize your game, that'd be nice, thank you. But no, I think this delay is very much needed and necessary. So try not to slam on them too much. The game could be just a great thing in the end. Anyway, that's been it for this week's gaming news show. I hope you liked it because I found this one interesting. I feel like I can get back into this a lot more. It felt fun. Anyway, leave your comments down below. I always read them. And I'll catch you in the next one.